In the name of the Father and Son and the Holy Spirit, and God, Amen. I'm very happy to see all of you for this weather, and you made it and you come. God will bless you all. All right, today we speak about the character for Joseph. It's a beautiful story from the Bible. Everything written in the Bible for a reason. God, He put His story to learn a lot of lessons from His life. I just only pick up 4 points to talk about, and you can go home and read whatever you like. It's a beautiful story. It's about 5-6 chapters, but one of the best story. And by the way, this story was written before even commandments. So God in that time didn't give them commandments. These people was driven by conscience. They call natural conscience. Like you see people here, Hindus or people not believing God, atheists, but they have no God, but still they know the right from the wrong. That was the time before the commandment comes by Moses the prophet. Joseph as a character, we know all of us, he was about 17 years old when the Bible starts to talk about him, and his dad loved him very much, and he bought him the colorful coat, and that's what started the problem. Okay? And after he started his story going on, his brother jealous from him, and they started to throw him in the water den, and after this they sold it to Ismailite and took him to Egypt. In Egypt they sold him as a slave, and imagine a slave in Egypt, they beat him, he cleans the floor, everything. From a master in his home, the spoiled boy, to a servant. After this he was honest with God, and instead of he gets reward, he's thrown in jail. And how long he stay in jail? Long the time. Even after he explained first the dream to the man, he forget him 2 years in jail. All this God, he was preparing step by step in his life until he come out to be number 2 in all land in Egypt. And Egypt in that time was like America. Like imagine second charge around the world. Because every country hungry, and the only country have food in that time is Egypt. What we need to learn and what we look to learn from his character today, number 1, his fear of God. Number 2, his honesty. Number 3, forgiveness of others. Number 4, how God drive our life. Number 1, his fear of God. Imagine, like I said before, there is no commandment. God did not tell him, don't do adultery, don't do this or that. He sold as a slave. His brothers threw him, and he was crying, tells him, get me out of here. And he doesn't want to get him out. And they took him, sell him as a slave, and all this he's innocent. But in that time still he didn't leave God. His master wife asked him to lie with her, and asked him every day, and he refused and refused and refused. He can say, where is God? If God exists, why is this done to me? If God really exists, why I sold as a slave? I can do the sin, there is no God. No, but he was honest to his God. He feared God more than anyone. He feared God more than anyone. That's why he said his verse, the very famous, how then can I do this great wickedness, sin and a sin against God? And the very nice part from chapter 39, verse 7 to 15, when he explained the wife of his master asked him to lie with her many times, and he escaped. And he escaped. Because he was innocent, even he didn't get reward. What happened to him? The master, he threw him in jail. So number 1, his fear of God. Fear of God, very important. Unfortunately, sometimes we fear from dogs, sometimes we fear from mouse or anything, but we not fear of God. If we believe God, He can see us and watch us, there's a lot of stuff before we do. Many times we have to ask ourselves. One of the saints, he said, one thief who was breaking in one home. He would try to break in the home, the dogs run and bark. He scared from the dogs, but he didn't scare from God. So the dogs scare him, not God. But if we put God watching us all the time, we put the fear of God in our life, a lot of stuff we can do. A lot of times some people ask us to lie. Some people ask us, I don't see him. I am not here. Tell him he's not here. All this stuff. But really I am fear from God or from people. happen at work when you start working. Okay, and he found a lot of lying happening at work. Just tell them, I was sick today and take 1 day sick. Or do this, come late and sign for what time, or a lot of stuff. But really we fear God or we fear people. One of the monkeys named Ambatha, he stayed in the wilderness for 60 years. The devil was tempted him a lot by adultery. A lot, until he gave up. And he wanted to leave the monastery. He said, with this bad thought, I can't sit in the monastery with this holy person. I'm going. So when he started to walk, the angel appeared to him. He said, where you go? He said, I have enough. I can't handle this temptation anymore. He said, come with me. I will show you something. He took him and they showed him a vision. Like a big hole, and the people rotten, and the worm eat their flesh. And tell him, do you know what these people? These are the people done adultery. Try to fight hard and God will reward him. He tried hard and hard, God support him, and God support him and lift up this temptation from him. The war is sin, but he got the chance. If he lie with her, maybe she can make him a very high position in his home. But he refused. He followed God more than anyone. So number one, we need to learn to believe God, he sees us. We should fear him more than any person. That's number one in his story. Number two, he was very honest in his life. Very honest. His dad asked him to go to give food to his brother. He went, look for them, he can't find them, but he didn't come back. He started to search and look until he found someone. He said, they want another side. He followed another side. And his reward, they sold him as a slave. But he was honest. When he was working as a slave in his master house, the man, he trusted him everything. Even the Bible said in Genesis 39, 1 to 6, they said the man even doesn't know anything about his home. He only think about the food he eats. But Joseph, he buy, he sell, he do everything at his home, and nothing else. The master of the home know about anything. And he trusted him because everything in his hand, God blessed him and was great and great in his hand. One of the priests, his name Abuna Mikhail Ibrahim, this man, to show you how he was honest in his life too. He was working in government job. You know, in government job, they give him pen to write his paperwork, special pen to sign like government seal or something. So he got 2 pens. When he goes to church to correct the Sunday school servant book, he used his own pen, but when he go work, he make mark in this pen. That's for work, that's for private. So you're not gonna mix up. Look how he is very honest for little, very honest for little. What happened to him, this man? He was a priest, and he got a problem in his church for financial. He left his church, come live in Egypt, Cairo. And after he left in Cairo, he wasn't praying that time. They saw him. One of the priests told him, Abuna, are you no excommunication from our church? He said, no. He said, the priest should do the mass. He didn't come. Can you pray the mass for us? He said, yes. He prayed in some Mark church in Shobra. And he started praying. People let him to stay in the church. Who was his son in the confession in that time? Bab Kurolos. And who after the Bab Kurolos, he was his son in the confession? Bab Shinoda. He was a confession of Bab Shinoda. So because he's very honest, he was drive the church. But by who? By the Pope. Because when the Pope have a problem, he asks who? His confession father. So imagine he honest in little, God make him honest in the great or big. So honesty in life is very important. Another student, he was in Alexandria. They have very famous university, and they got students from every state come in this university, engineering university, very famous and one of the biggest university in Egypt. One student in faculty of engineering, it's 6 years. You do preparation like first year, and year 1, 2, 3, 4, and after this 5 years. If you fail in two time in 1 year, third time you have to do it at home, and if you fail, you have to change all your faculty. You have to do something theory, not practical anymore. So from engineer, he has to do something like faculty of arts or something. So already he done first year the preparation, he done year one, and year two, he failed twice. And they gave him last chance to do the third one from home. So how many years? About 5 years. The priest, he said, this man, he was a very honest servant, very good, but he had no luck in his study. He failed at this last chance. He said, during his exam, I went to visit him at home. I told him, how is the exam? He said, Abuna, the exam was really hard. Abuna, I said, my God. I said, that's it. He will get out of the university. He said, Abuna, I said, if the exam very hard, at least you write something, they consider that hard for everyone. He said, but who was the head of the looking after the class we have the exam? Was the one he write the exam. He said, because the exam very hard, he said, all right, help each other. Abuna, I found there's a lot of noise in the, in the exam. I don't like it. I write all what I know, and I try to leave after half time. The professor of the subject, he looked to his exam, he said, this not gonna let you pass. He said, that's all what I know. He said, go back and write. He said, that's all I know. I don't know anything else. He said, go back and ask your friend to help you. He said, I'm not going to be comfortable. He said, go back and open your book and copy. I tell you, copy. He said, I can't. He said, what type of person you are? He said, I'm a Christian. He said, until this time you're honest, I will pass you, and you are first one to pass. And he gave him the pass number and let him pass. He passed his exam this year, and he finished until last year and was successful engineer after that. The honesty is very important. So number one, fear of God. Number two, the honesty in our life. Number three, forgiveness. Forgiveness. If someone tell you something bad, what do you do to him? Or someone stab you from your back, what you do? Do you think you can talk to him? Imagine your brother sell you. And in the beginning they want to kill him. But one of them said, no, we doesn't want to, God will ask us for his blood. Better we sell him. Imagine they sold him. You sell your brother, not only talk about him or hit him or take anything from him. Someone take your mobile phone, what you do to him? Imagine. This one, Joseph, he has different answer for this. And when his brother come, he has authority to kill all of them. He has authority to put all of them in jail. But what he did, he said, really, you are a brother? I want to see last one. When his brother Benjamin come back, he saw him, he went inside and started to cry. And when they sit on the table, and he put everyone his food like in age, the older by age, and everyone surprised, how you know he's the older, he's the younger. And they told him, how do you know, and all this stuff. The Bible said he asked all the servants to get out, and he went inside crying, even people was hearing him. People hearing him. He had a forgiveness of heart, and told them, I am Joseph, your brother. They terrified from them. They said that God will punish us now. What we did to him, he cannot do to us. He said, you wanted to do evil to me, God changed the evil to better. God put me here in this country to keep life for all around the world. All around the world. One story about St. Mary. One of the priests, he was serving the church of St. Mary, Maryam, please. He was serving the church of St. Mary. He got 5 kids. 2 passed away, 2 went to the monastery, and he has only the young one look after him. His wife, 2 passed away. So this priest, the old man, the young son George, he's the one look after him. So what happens, this young one, he finishes his study, they have to go to the army. So he has no one to look after him, to do his medicine, to cook for him, to look after him for everything. George. Okay? So what happened? After his son went to the army, he tried to wait for his son to come. He didn't come. He started to pray to St. Mary, St. Mary, please, I want my son to come. Everyone asked Abuna, how is your son? He said, my son in the army, but St. Mary will bring him. He waited for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, his son didn't come. Abuna, he comes Sunday in the morning, to do the mass. He said, I'm not going to do the mass. He sit outside. I said, I'm not going to do the mass until Samiri get me my son. 2, God took them. 2 went to monastery, and my last one I wanted from Samir. He said, I will go Cairo to get my son from the army. You know, to go Cairo for someone from Upper Egypt, it's like huge. And he went to the area for people to go to the army. It's like you talk about 20,000-30,000 people, army, enough kind of thing. So he started to cry, I want to my son, I want to my son. Someone, he told Abuna, you can't find him, he can't do this. His name not here, it must be he went to different area because the army is around the border of Egypt. So he went outside the area for people to go to the army and they started to cry in the street. Samiri, I want my son. He found a lady who was close, Rab was close, and they come sit with him. She said, old man, why are you crying? He said, I haven't got time to think. I haven't got time to talk. I don't want to talk anymore. She told him, just tell me, maybe I help you. She told her, 2 people God took them, 2 people went to monastery, lost my son Eli, I want him to come back. She told him, but he's not here. He's in country next to your home. So he said, how do you know? She said, you ask Samiri, your son will come today. Go back to your church, you found your son. But I want you to tell you something, you never close my church door. You have to do the mass all the time in my church. And when I start to realize this lady, she know a lot. How she know? She from Cairo, how she know he didn't pray the mass? He looked to her, she found her disappear. He go back his Upper Egypt, he found his son waiting for him in the train station, and his army was in the same city. So Samiri, she has a mercy, a beautiful heart when people ask her for any intercession. So number 1, we learn from Joseph, his fear of God. Number 2, his honesty. Number 3, forgiveness of others. She forgave for the priest. He closed the church. Definitely no one allowed to close the church and not doing the mass. Number 4, we have to know everything God do in our life for good. Everything for good. Maybe Joseph in that time he will ask God, God, where are you? I was honest, you threw me in jail. Even in jail he asked the man, remember the dream? The man, he was having 3 levels of basket of bread, and they told him after 3 days they will kill you. And another one, the cupbearer, he had 3 grapes and he dreamed about to give the drink again to the king. After 3 days he told him, the king will ask you to come back to your job. But if you went back, don't forget me. Because tell him I am an innocent person and I want to jail. It's injustice here. So, and the Bible said the man, he forgot him for another 2 years. But all this one, God prepares the right time. If Joseph the spoiled boy, they can put him second in charge in the whole Egypt, and they still a spoiled boy. Do you think he can run it correctly? No. That he wants to make him strong, and strong, and strong. That's why sometimes we found we have a lot of trouble, and we think God, he not with us. Or we think God, he forgot us. But God, the more trouble you have, the more God close to you. Do you remember the footsteps?
Yeah.
What happened in the footsteps? You found he four step prints in the floor, in the ground. But little bit when the hardship come, you found 2 only. Because when hardship come, God, he will lift you. So any problem in our life, you know, it's all for our God. He wants to teach you temptation. And they teach you have patience. God, maybe he wants you to be better and stronger. God, he wants you to be stronger. And God, he wants you to have patience in your life. All this one. Always look to the end of the story, not the beginning of the story. If we look to Joseph from the beginning of the story, it was very hard and tough. And everyone can ask, where is God? Someone honest, he didn't do anything wrong, he go jail, he done this. But end of the story, he was second in charge as a king. He gave him his ring. You know what's meant to give him his ring? This ring was his signature. So no any official document to be announced or to be out until the king is sealed. And who wearing the ring was Joseph. So any paperwork to be official on the country, after Joseph agreed and signed, and on this time, every country around the world coming to buy a food from Egypt, and who was controlling all this was Joseph. So everything in our life for good of us. So number one, his fear of God. Number two, his honesty. Number three, forgiveness of others. Very important. Number four, last one, everything happening in our life, it's for goodness. Last story, I want to say it so we can finish. For everything in goodness. Someone, he was a very rich person and he was very busy, all his concentration and all his focus to make as much as money as he can to give it his older son to can run the business after him. Collect enough money, everything, his son finished university, he going to the army, he finished the army and they coming soon to take over everything. Crossing one of the street, car hit him and died. Everyone talked to him, everything for the good of you say everything for the good, but wait and see why this happened. And he started complaining, God, why you do this to us? God, my son, he didn't do anything wrong. God and God. The priest was talking to him. The priest told him, maybe we will not understand now, but later on. This temptation, after he found everything, it's not stay. Whatever money you have, it's not going to bring someone back to life. Whatever money you have, they never can make you happy anymore. He started slowly come to the church. Start to sit in the back and hear explanation of the Bible. He start give some time to himself and start to read the Bible. He start come committed in the church and come regular. He start to serve in the church. He start love the church. He start to be connected to the church all the time. The church have shortage with servants. They want to consecrate its servant. Everyone agrees this person to be a priest, and they ordained him as a priest, and he was serving in the church and was very successful in the church. So again, if this not happened to his son went to heaven, he was a good man. If this not happened to his son, maybe he be lost. He collect money until he died, and he ended with the rich man in the hell. But God, he did this temptation for him, because end of the tunnel, God, he wants all of us in the heaven with him. So all was in good. If you leave your life in God's hands and you follow his commandments, he does the best in your life. Glory be to God forever and ever. Any question? Thank you very much. God bless you all and pray.